Good morning, everybody. Just before I forget, the ID that Emily's talking about is the ORCID ID, which is now required for federal funding, that you have this if you don't already have it, okay? So I brought some handouts over there on the table if you'd like to grab one. It's easy to sign up. This kind of a, ORCID ID is kind of a name authority file for author names. For instance, I have papers published in several different names: K. Smith, K. Hogan, Catherine Smith, that kind of thing. So this is kind of a way to grab everything together and recognize that it's you, you know, it's, even though it may be a slightly different name. So what I'm going to talk to you today is, you know, about some library resources and services, you know, that will help you in supporting your research. Okay, and I recognize that there are people coming in remotely that may be from different institutions. Those of you from other institutions realize that even though the resources that I'm going to be covering are specific to UAB, there are comparable resources on your end as well in your institutions. So just check out with your library. Okay, my objectives for today we'll look for. We'll talk about finding books and resources for background information, you know, to get you started. And also, you know, finding research articles that on the kind of the state of the science in your area. And that includes doing effective searches of the literature, incorporating a few advanced search techniques into your search. And I won't have time to get into too much of that, but I'm going to give you a few tips there. And then how to get full text, whether you're on campus or off. And some of the critical quality appraisal checklists and things such as grade for, you know, appraising the strength of the evidence that you find, okay? And knowing where to go for help. Now, I'm going to go kind of in backwards fashion here because I'm going to start with where to go for help. So this is some of the, you know, services and training things that we do for individuals and groups, you know, in the libraries. You know, go over, you know, how to use different databases, how to do, you know, how to use some advanced search techniques. We do a lot of one-on-one consultations with people for your specific research project and what you're looking for. So, you know, please do, you know, contact us and set up an appointment if you want to do that. We do a lot of support for systematic reviews. That's, you know, really big right now. We help with citation management using, you know, one of the citation management programs such as EndNote or, you know, there's some others, Mendeley, Zotero, that kind of thing. I do a lot of things with, you know, helping people comply with the NIH public access policy to get your papers into PubMed Central. And also using the MyNCBI tools such as My Bibliography and ScienceCV, which are really helpful helpful tools to keep track of your work and help you in creating your proposals and doing your bio sketches. And I just put this on the end. A lot of people have this kind of like 1950s idea of the library. It's like this kind of warehouse of books and stuff, and somebody in the library just kind of quietly checking out books. We do have, you know, most of our materials are actually online now, of course, and a lot of our clients we never see because they're just coming in remotely. But we do have some kind of cool stuff in the library too now if you haven't stopped by in a while. We've got some grant funding to support 3D printing in the library, including we just got a new bio printer in Worcester Hill Library, and we would welcome you to come by and check that out and try it out. And also we have a virtual reality lab in Worcester Hill Library, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, check it out. Okay, continuing in the library help. There's a number of research guides that we make available on different topics and different resources that we make available to you. And I would encourage you to check those out. They kind of give you really detailed information to guide you through using some of these resources. And also, you know, whenever you get stuck, you just kind of, you can go in and chat with us on what, you know, if you're in PubMed or something and you're kind of confused about something, you can just go in and chat. And also give us a call or set up a consultation or however you want to do it. So we would love to help you. Okay, so I'm going backwards again. So I'm talking about getting full text articles. All right. So when you're in PubMed in the you know, in the full record or abstract view or whatever, you'll see in the either underneath the abstract or to the right of it there, as you can see on this slide, all the links that you can get to full text. And one thing to make sure that you see all the ways to get into the full text that we subscribe to on your behalf is you want to start with our library website. Okay, so even if you're using a free resource like PubMed's, like PubMed, you want to start with the library website and link to PubMed through that site. That way, you're whether you're on campus or off, it makes it easier for you to authenticate as a UAB user or wherever institution you are. Those of you in a remote in. To log in with your Blazor ID and password and get to that subscribed content we have for you. Okay, so always remember that. And when you do, if you're off campus, it'll have this pop up when you go to link to that full text. It will pop up with this, you know, give me your Blazor ID and password, and you put that in, and voila, there you are. So always start with the library website. Okay. And there are other things. If we, you know, we don't, unfortunately, we can't subscribe to everything as much as we'd like to. So in some cases, if we don't have the full text for you, you can make use of our interlibrary loan service, which is a free service to you. It's very quick. It's usually, they've got it really quick now. It's usually 24 hours or so. And so you just kind of put in your information about your article or book chapter or whatever it is you want, and we'll get it for you in PDF format. Okay. And other routes you can use, I'll be talking a little bit more about Google Scholar in a little bit, but Google Scholar is really good for finding full text of particular items. So that's what I usually use it for. I'm looking for a specific item and I put in the title and Google Scholar and try to get it that way. The link underneath in this slide, underneath that Google Scholar icon is the link to our guide that tells you how to actually set up Google Scholar so that it links through our library account to get full text. Okay. Also in note is it has a find full text feature that can you can set it up, and again that guide link underneath that will tell you how to do that to search for the full text through the libraries. Okay, and then browsing is an app that's available for your mobile devices to you know, download full text content into that that we make available. So any questions about full text? Okay. All right, we're going to talk about resources for searching the literature. To start just with the basics, you need to start with what kind of, what are you looking for? Okay, are you going to look for more like background information? Are you looking for something to bring you up to speed on a particular topic that you're not that familiar with or you haven't visited in a while? In that case, you're going to probably look for things like a book or a review article or something like that. So you might want to start with our library catalog, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. The foreground type questions are more like, you know, what is the state of the science in a particular field? And so you want to do research in a database to find articles on a subject, okay, and studies that have been done. So that's kind of, you know, starting with the basic, what kind of question. All right, and then of course you go right to our website, like I said, that's where you want to start. And well, actually, let me show you. All right. This is our Lister Hill Library site, okay? I just want to show you real quick. If you go to library.uab.edu, and it'll start with the main library, which, you know, I have the main library site, which includes all the libraries. Lister Hill is the Health Sciences Library in the UAB Library System. Stern Library is the General Academic Library. And if you click underneath the UAB Libraries link at the top and go to Lister Hill, that'll open up our website. You can see that we've, in the kind of main real estate on the page, we've divided out some of the primary databases that are used in the health sciences, mostly here at the top. We'll be talking about those in a little bit. You can also get to other databases through this database link up here. And those research guides I told you about are right here with a picture of Hippocrates there. All right, this chat with the librarian, I remember I told you about that. This little slide out button right here. So if I wanted to, I could say, yeah, here I am, hit CCTS. Say hi, say hello to, let me spell right, Friday Fellows, CCTS. And hopefully somebody will respond to us in a minute. Here's Dorothy. Hi, Friday Fellows. Okay. Goodbye. No, thanks. All right. Okay, so, and then I close it. Oh, that was great. All right. All right. So that's how you chat, and that should be on a number of pages through our website, okay? I was talking about the catalog, okay, to find books and stuff. You'll notice there's this kind of like Google-like search box at the top. It's this kind of a federated search for all the library catalogs on campus, okay? As well as it also searches in through some of the databases and find some journal literature. So you can end up, if you stick with that general box and just this everything scope, it's going to be, you know, quite a bit, all right? So you can either here, you can change that scope here in the pull down menu to the library catalog or ebooks or something like that. You know, say I want a book on rheumatology. And I'm going to search, and should read some ebooks on rheumatology. And here's one from 2019 from Elsevier. I can click on that link there. It gives me, you know, more information about it. And then I click on view full text, and it'll pull up the book and clinical key. But I have to give it to this thing first. Okay. Clinical key, of course, has been having problems lately. So sometimes it gives me problems. But there it is. And I can go to the contents that I want. All right. So any questions about the catalog? Just remember to change that scope there, you know, from everything, because it's, you know, you can get kind of overwhelmed. It's like doing a Google search, basically, you know, when you're search that everything box. All right, so go back. All right, there I am. So that was the how to find books. All right, now let's talk about some basics about finding journal articles. These are the basic steps in finding a journal article. You want to start with whatever relevant database in your area, okay? You want to search it effectively, of course. Select your appropriate articles and access the complete articles. And it sounds easier than it really turns out to be a lot of times. But remember, you know, searching the literature is kind of an art. We consider it an art as librarians. And there's really no one perfect way to search on a particular topic. Sometimes you can take different routes to get at the same thing. Just as building your muscles takes repetition and time, so does becoming, you know, a good, effective searcher. All right. So I'm going to give you some tips today, and you know, just kind of, you know, practice those, and you know, call us when you get stuck, and you know, you'll continue to enhance your skills as you go along. Okay. Again, besides the main databases, there are all these other databases that we make available. We have several hundred actually that we make available through the libraries. You can, you know, kind of target your search for which databases you want to use by using the categorizations that we make available in the pull-down menu at the top of the databases page. Here's one for evidence-based practice. So that can help you in figuring out that first step, which database to use for your particular topic. Now again, you can always just, you know, contact the librarians and ask us for some references for good databases. But these are the main ones that people use in medicine and healthcare and health-related fields. PubMed, which is the interface for searching the Medline database from the National Library of Medicine. Embase, which is another Elsevier product. CINAHL, which is a nursing and allied health literature database. And Scopus, which is kind of a broad interdisciplinary citation and abstract database. I'm not going to be able to go through all of these. I don't have time today to go through all of these today, but I'm going to focus more on PubMed, but the approaches that I do in PubMed should be translatable to the other databases as well. And of course, again, we can sit down with you and talk about those whenever you get ready for that. One of the things that I always tell people to, when they're starting out with the literature searches, is you know, remember your central question forms the foundation of a good literature search, and so you want to, you know, set up the stage for a good review by, you know, setting up an answerable question. And a lot of people use the PICO format to kind of, you know, identify your concepts and everything within your search. The PICO format the P stands for population or the problem. The I is for intervention, or in epidemiology areas, it may be an exposure to something. C is for comparison, you know, and then O is for outcome. And so, as I said, this helps you identify your concepts. And I've got some, I don't know if you can read them in the back there, but these, I set up some questions that are kind of more general, or they're not really poorly designed, but they're more general questions at the top, and then ways to improve them at the bottom here. So one of the first ones is the kind of general questions is, are condoms effective in preventing HIV? A better way maybe to get at that would be down at the bottom, in men who have sex with men, does condom use reduce the risk of HIV transmission? So in that question, what would be your population?
Men who have sex with men.
Very good, men who have sex with men. And then your intervention? Condom use. And the outcome?
HIV transmission.
Yeah, HIV transmission. So there's not really a comparison there. Maybe the comparison would be understood to be, you know, no condom use or something else, you know, or, you know, whatever. But that would be your PICO format right there. And that helps you identify, again, your basic concepts for your search. All right, and then the second one is, at the top is like, which interventions reduce health inequalities among people with HIV? And a better way to ask that, again, is focusing that population a little bit more in women with HIV, okay? And do peer-based intervention, a particular type of intervention, reduce health inequalities? All right, that's the outcome, okay? You see what we're doing? We're just trying to target it as much as possible. And that helps you to get more targeted results, and you're not spending all your time going through, thousands of irrelevant stuff, that you're not really, don't have the time for, and you don't, and it's not really helpful to you. That makes sense? All right. So let's talk about PubMed for a little bit. As I said, PubMed is really the interface to search the Medline database, which is available through the National Library of Medicine. There are other interfaces for searching Medline. You may have been at other institutions that provide Ovid Medline. So this, they have different features and different ways to get at it, but that's basically what it is. And we'll talk a little bit more about the features of PubMed, including their controlled vocabulary, the mesh headings. But I want to back up and talk about Google Scholar for just a minute. I know a lot of people use Google Scholar now for like all kind of general searches and stuff like that. We don't really want to discourage you from using Google Scholar. It's a great tool. I get a little concerned when people are using it indiscriminately to to do like a broad topic search, because its scope is so broad, okay, for one thing, and it doesn't make it easy for you to focus your search as well as these other databases that are built specifically for that purpose, okay? And also, it doesn't make it easy for you to download your results into a citation manager. There are ways you can harvest those results, but it's not great, So that's my main thing with that. Now, I do use Google Scholar a lot, as I said, when I'm looking for a particular article or a particular author or something like that. I use the Google Scholar a lot for that. And if you're just looking for a few good articles on a subject, sure, go ahead and use it. But not to support the kind of scholarly reviews that you may be interested in doing. Okay. All right, so let's go back to PubMed. Okay, PubMed is considered a gold standard biomedical literature database. Has millions of citations. They're adding more all the time. Besides the indexed references in the Medline database that are assigned these controlled vocabulary subject terms called mesh subject headings, mesh. It also includes these in-process citations that are really new, that are kind of, they have agreements with publishers to automatically add these citations. So these are really new, and they haven't been assigned, they haven't been indexed fully into Medline yet, but they will be eventually, most of them. It goes back, I think, earlier than 1946 now. It goes back to the 40s. And it's funded by the government. It's free to everybody. And again, if you go through the library website, you can get links to those full text articles that we subscribe to, and also the free full text. This is a PubMed record right here, full text. And when looking at the bottom, it's if you click on the thing for mesh terms, it gives you all this list of mesh headings, and these are the controlled vocabulary subject headings. And what they are, what a controlled vocabulary term is, in whatever database you're using, it's the term that the indexers have agreed will be the term to describe this particular concept. Okay, so so if you're looking for cancer or whatever, okay, they're going to put it under neoplasm. So if you put in if you put in cancer or lymphoma or whatever, the author has described it as a certain way, it doesn't matter. It's all going to be indexed under neoplasms. Okay, maybe under a specific type of neoplasms, but yes, it's going to be under that. So there's some basic tips for searching PubMed. Again, you start with that answerable question. All right, set that up as your Pico format if you can. You want to look at the search details box to see how, we'll do a basic search. I'm going to show you in a minute. You do your basic search and you look in the details box to see how PubMed is translating that search. You might want to consider adding some mesh headings to your search. All right, I'll show you how to do that. You can combine search strings on the advanced search builder page. I'll show you that in PubMed. And you can link, again, link to full text using that full text UAB Libraries here at UAB to get to the full text. You can use wildcard symbols, which is generally the asterisk in PubMed and most other databases, okay, for root words. So if you're looking for, you know, like diabetes, diabetic, you can end up the diabet and put an asterisk at the end. It'll look up all the forms of that word, okay. And then you can, you know, put quotation marks around phrases to force the database to look for that phrase. You can also actually put a hyphen between the words and the phrase, and it'll do the same thing. And just, of course, remember, you know, PubMed is specific to a particular field, and it doesn't include everything. So if you're doing, like, especially a systematic review, you don't want to just stop with PubMed. You want to use other databases like Embase and you know, maybe some other resources, relevant databases. And of course, ask a librarian if you get stuck. One thing I should warn you with PubMed, they're updating the PubMed interface in the coming year. So it's going to look different when you from what I'm going to show you today. All of these features that are available, they should actually still be there in the new one. It just may be in a different place, okay? So just be aware. All right. So now we'll go back to, all right, when we don't need any help, all right. So when I go to, when I go to PubMed by LHL, this is where I click on the link to go to PubMed. Let's see if it'll, yeah. And I've actually set it up so it's already signed me into my NCBI up at the top. How many of you have a my NCBI account? Okay, if you don't have one, it's a really good thing for you to sign up for. I'll talk more about that later, but it can really help you in your grant proposals and complying with PA public access compliance policy for NIH and things like that. So just be aware of that. You can also, set up your account so that it you can get your results and display it in a certain way and stuff like that in your settings in my NCBI if you have that account. Okay, so so let's just start with kind of a basic. You have this basic search thing here, all right, at the top. And say I'm actually a rheumatology patient. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I'm taking methotrexate for it. And I heard recently that well, there's some concern that there's some correlation with taking methotrexate for rheumatoid arthritis and cancer. So if I want to find out more about that, I can go into PubMed and say rheumatoid arthritis. And you don't have to put, remember when you're doing, you have these Boolean operators to connect your concepts, and or not, all right? And will say I want everything together, or would be I want any of them. It would be between synonyms, okay? But I don't have to do that in PubMed. It will do it automatically for me. It will understand the and operator. So I do rheumatoid arthritis, methotrexate, cancer, and search. And my results, notice that it allows you, besides the publication date formats, here it also allows you to look for the kind of a relevancy ranked order for this best matches. But before I look at those results, I'm going to look at those search details. Remember, we talked about that, doing that. So if I scroll down a little bit on the right-hand sidebar, you see the search details box, and there's a see more link underneath it. If I click on that, I'm going to show you. All right, notice what it's done here. It's identified the main concepts for me. All right, the cancers concept, the methotrexate concept, and the rheumatoid arthritis concept. All right, and the 3 concepts. All right, and And then notice within each of those concepts, it mapped to the correct mesh heading, the controlled vocabulary term, and then ORed that with the subject term. Okay, so it did that for me. And then and identified all the concepts. So it did a pretty good job of it. All right. There are ways I could, tweak it a little bit, but it did pretty well. And if you look in the query translation at the top, you'll notice how it kind of put this all into one search string. Okay. And notice that when it does that, it puts these little parentheses around different search strings, especially with the OR operators. So too much into the weeds here, but when you're setting up a search command line search in a database, the parentheses around particular search strings tell the database, I want you to do this first, okay, and then before you do anything else. All right. And it can be kind of tricky to get that syntax right. So that's really helpful for PubMed to go ahead and do that for you. So you don't have to worry about it. One thing I just want to mention with the Boolean operators, when you want to search your synonyms, say between those mesh terms and the keyword searches, you want to OR those terms together, you want to do that first, okay? So that way, if I put say if I had tried something like rheumatoid arthritis and methotrexate and cancer or lymphoma, it's not, the database isn't going to say, well, we'll just look up all these terms, rheumatoid arthritis and methotrexate and cancer, and then anything with lymphoma, regardless of whether it has anything to do with RA or methotrexate. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's why you want to do those OR things, or your terms first, and then and your concepts together. All right. Okay, enough about that. All right. One more thing here before we look at the results. There's also, we talked about an advanced search builder. I'm not going to go into this too much, but when you look at the top there's a link to an advanced hyperlink. That'll get you to the advanced search builder. And you can see that you can go into this search builder. You can pick a particular field that you want to search by clicking on the pull-down menu at the left, and you can search for a particular mesh term. You can look for words instead of all fields, the way that translated in our search initially. You can say, I want that methotrexate term in the title, okay, or something like that. It also keeps track of your searches here in the history at the bottom. So this is where you can keep track of your strings, and you can combine things. All right. So just be aware of that. One more thing I want to show you. All right, in this history, you'll see it assigned a number to that search that I just did. It's number 1. We've only done one search. So what I can do, say I want to target my results a little bit more beyond this 583 results I have. So I can go back to my PubMed home. And there are some tools here that are kind of handy. One of which is, you'll notice there's a mesh database. You can look up the mesh terms ahead of time if you want to and plug those in. But one of these is that I use a lot is clinical queries. All right. So if I go into clinical queries, and all I have to do is type in my search number, which is number 1, and search. And instead of therapy, I'm going to say etiology. I'm going to change this category to etiology from this default in therapy. And now it's looking for these clinical trials and systematic reviews, and also, if you're interested in genetics, on this particular topic. I want to look at the systematic reviews on this topic. So I'm going to click on this link for the 23 systematic reviews on that topic. Matthew?
Can you show again how you got to here from your search? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go back. Okay. Remember I looked at that advanced search builder. Okay, I had the number 1 search. All right. I went to my PubMed homepage. You can click on the logo or just, it's got PubMed Home link there. And I go to the PubMed Tools in the middle, Clinical Queries. And I type in my number of my search. Okay, and I don't really have to, but I did change this to etiology because I wanted this kind of causes of cancer and in association with methotrexate and RA. So this middle column is the one that I wanted to look at for systematic reviews. It's just kind of a quick way to get at systematic reviews on a topic in clinical studies, okay? And focusing your search on the evidence-based studies. So I'll go down to the bottom and I go to where it says See All 23, and it's going to pull those up. All right. Now, when you do a search in PubMed, if you haven't set it up otherwise, it will probably default to your kind of the basic summary view of the references. Okay, you can set up in MyNCBI that you want to see the abstract view or whatever, but you can also go to this format link at the top, pull down menu at the top, and you can change it there. Okay. Okay. But I've already got it, so I've already got it abstract, and that's what I want. So I've got it in abstract view, and I can just look at everything all at once. Now in the new PubMed, I think it kind of automatically does kind of this basic summary, and you can still change it to the abstract view, but it shows you a little bit more than just the citation that it does right now in default. So I'm going to go through, and there are a few good things. Here's one: side effects of methotrexate therapy for rheumatoid arthritis. Looks pretty good. And if you look at the mesh terms that are assigned to this, all right, it's got, things like rheumatoid arthritis, drug therapy, and then methotrexate with adverse effects as a subheading. And then neoplasms chemically induced. So if I wanted to add that to my search, I could just click on that mesh heading in my results, search it, and it adds it in. Okay, so now what I have to do, so now it's just searching that particular mesh term. So if I go back to my advanced, we're going to click on that advanced link at the top. Here are all my searches I've done in the history. If I start with that number 1 at the bottom, that first search that we did, and where it says add to builder, and click on that, it pops it up there, all right, into the builder. And then I go to that neoplasms chemically induced mesh term that I just added. This was number 7 on my history. And I click on the add link where it says add to builder, pops that in there. I don't have to fool with changing the fields or anything like that. And I go to add to history or search or whatever. Now I'm down to 163. Okay. So it's just, just one way to do that. Does that make sense? So there's some tricks you can use to try to target your results. One thing about just adding in just focusing on mesh terms is, remember we said that PubMed includes both those the Medline database as well as those citations that are in process that have been added. Okay, that are fairly new. If you just use mesh terms to search, you're going to cut out those ones that are in process. Okay, so you do want to include both. All right. So is there any question about anything we've done? As you go through this, if you have trouble with it, just let me know, and we'll go through it and see what happens. Okay, So again, you know, if you set up that your MyNCBI account in in PubMed, it's really helpful to you. It allows you to do your search settings, save your searches, save collections of results on topics you're doing. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to interrupt. No. Because you have it up here before you leave PubMed and MyNCBI, I just wanted to let everybody know, if you don't know, from a grants management standpoint, you use MyNCBI to help write your progress reports. It builds your bibliography that you have to submit. Yep. And so, Anand, you've gotten these emails from me previously. PMID puts everything in abstracts into a big database. PMCID, PubMed Central, is different. It's a full text option where you don't have to be on a university campus. You can get it from anywhere. The idea is so that every American who pays taxes can look at the research that's funded. So as you get to write your own grants, have your own grants, it's good to get in the habit of whenever you have something that's published, make sure that, and I'll send you some information about this, but I've been meaning to mention it. Make sure it's getting submitted into PubMed Central. And if your journal doesn't do it, then it's your responsibility to do it. Because then if you're on a training grant and say Ken Sag is a PI, when we go to write his progress report and pull his bibliography, there'll be these red flags saying this is out of compliance, and then we're saying, hey, we need a copy of your thing. So I just wanted to mention it.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I should have done. So actually, I've just opened up my NCBI account so you can see what she's talking about. If I go to my bibliography and I click on manage my bibliography, I don't have as many as you have, I'm sure, many publications as you do, but oh, please wait. Your bibliography seems to be pretty big. Oh my God. I didn't think it was that big. That's not gonna work. Well. But yeah, when you do that, it'll have your little green things where you had your articles added to PMCID, to PubMed Central, and some others that to say you might want to take a look at this. Oh, I'm sorry, that's just not gonna work. I can't demonstrate it to you. But yeah, you're right. It's very important that you sign up so you can keep track of that kind of stuff. Okay. There are a lot of good tools in MyNCBI that are really useful. Again, also in addition to that My Bibliography, there's you can link to ScienceCV, which is another MyNCBI tool, which allows you to create biosketches and targeting for particular awards. So you can make as many as you want and update them and keep them up to date and link to your bibliography and stuff like that. So it's pretty important. Again, if you need any help with PubMed or anything else, do look at our guides. I don't know if you noticed when we were looking at the library website, underneath the PubMed via LHL, there's a link to the guide right there. So you can just kind of click on there immediately and get to it. And it gives you a lot of good tips for using that database. Okay, I said we were going to talk a little bit about these tools for appraising the evidence that you find. GRADE is the one that's recommended by Cochrane as an approach to looking at the studies that you turn up in your literature review and see how well done they are. So I'm sure you're probably familiar with the evidence-based pyramid with the starts with the expert experience at the bottom, and it goes the higher up you get in the pyramid, the more reliable the evidence. But just because something is a randomized controlled trial or a systematic review or whatever doesn't mean it's necessarily done that well, when they set it up. So these kind of tools help you determine, whether there's any potential for bias, if there's, some other things that may compromise the study and make it not as reliable evidence as maybe it should be. And beyond GRADE, I mean, there are a lot of checklists out there that are available for you to kind of ask yourself questions as you go through. So on that note, any questions? Maybe? Yes.
Sorry, if you're interested in, looking at the study design hierarchy or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
is there a way to search for a specific study design in PubMed, for example?
Oh, yeah.
Apart from a systematic review?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, let's see. Oh, there's my bibliography. How about that? It finally showed up. Okay. So just as I said, there's one I've got in PubMed Central. A lot of them are not. I didn't get any awards. So, yeah. But anyway, that's what it looks like. All right. So as far as looking at, let's see this, looking for a particular publication, a study type. In PubMed, it's a little tricky because, again, I was telling you about if you just search for mesh terms, you're going to be looking at and then knocking out these in-process citations, right? When they assign, the indexers assign the study type, to a citation and stuff and identify it in the record. Sometimes that qualifies as a mesh term, and it's going to knock out those in-process citations. So there are ways to get around that. And one way that I do is, okay, if they start at this PubMed guide that I told you about, right? Click on that guide. There are hedges that you can use, and a hedge is kind of a preformed search strategy that experts have come up with to help you. You just take those, copy and paste those search strategies into your database search, and it'll kind of address a particular problem for you. And one of those is finding particular types of studies. Okay, so to get around this problem with PubMed, especially. Identifying those as mesh terms. So here's a search string right at the top for identifying RCTs. Okay, right at the top. So I could just say I want this sensitivity maximizing search on RCTs. So I could copy it and let me go back. Let's see if it saved my search string in this one. Yeah, I did. So let me just go into the search builder here in advanced and add that, paste in that string, add it to my history. And then I'm going to go back down to my history and add number 1, that first search we did, that RCT hedge that I just added, and search that. And voila, we have RCTs. So yeah, other databases like Embase and some of the other databases we're not as concerned about. They have filters available that are readily available on the sidebar that you can just go in and say, I just want this kind of study type, and that's fine. It doesn't have that problem, but PubMed does. So that's just something to keep in mind. That makes sense? Sir?
So efficiency is often the name of the game these days for our publications. So I opened PubMed in EndNote, within EndNote, so using it as the search engine inside of my reference manager. Mm-hmm. So I'll do some of these tricks within EndNote using PubMed to search these different topics. Yeah. But I don't know if there's a way that you would recommend to, okay, we got these sites, we have all the references, and we have to put it into our paper faster. I mean, I have it that way so I can start building my library on the side and make it easier to cite quicker.
Yeah. There are some issues that I have with searching through EndNote, but that is one way to get it. Now, when you go through when you're going through your results and stuff in PubMed or whatever, you can use this send to box at the top, and send it to your citation manager, and just kind of you can just have this file, and then you import it into EndNote. Do that. Now, when you have your EndNote library, I'm not sure if this is what you're asking, but when you have your EndNote library, and you have Word open or whatever you're writing in, it should have a tab on there that says, EndNote, and that's where you go in to that tab and start typing, and you click on add citation wherever you want it to, and then go to your library and it pulls it into it.
I think this is you answered it right there with the citation manager.
Yeah.
That right there would probably be this is more elegant of a search option within PubMed.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can get it much more refined here than you could there.
Sure.
But then so you export it to your manager level.
Yeah, yeah. And it's pretty easy. I know some people in the health sciences side here at UAB have problems getting EndNote, but it is available.
In EndNote, I like to do my search here,
Mhm.
and then only the articles that I actually want to put in my EndNote library, you can do the search in EndNote and just put the PMID, and it pulls the entire reference without having to go through the steps of sort of exporting it. It's just kind of fast, but that's if you want to be selective about what you want to pull into your library as opposed to the whole search.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. That's why I was, clicking in the check boxes here too. You can do that. So, and you can also, besides doing that, you can, like I said, in my NCBI, I have my NCBI signed in here. So as I go through my list and check the boxes for the ones that I'm interested in, I can add it to my bibliography or collections. Actually, collections is probably more than here. I can add it to that and keep a running, list of everything that I'm finding on this topic that's really interested in, and then I can take that collection and just import it in if I want to.
And you kind of made that collection in my NCBI.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have several collections in my NCBI. So you have several saved searches. I have several bio sketches inside NCB, and I have several collections of articles there. So it's a pretty handy tool. It really is. Okay.